everybody, this is Rhonda with Utah Dream Properties and Keller Williams, and today I am going to talk to you about the pros and cons of living in Salt Lake City.
Let's get to work. Let's get to work.
Okay, like every city, there are pros and cons, right? And I just want to go through several of the pros and several of the cons of moving to Salt Lake City. So whether you're moving from somewhere else completely out of the state, or you are already in Utah and maybe you're looking at moving into the city, I'll go over some of these for you. So my opinion, I think one of the pros really, and this applies to anywhere in Utah, is the proximity to all of the national parks that we have. So if you are an outdoor type of person, or maybe you want to be an outdoor type of person, there's so many trails, parks, so many things to do that really I think you'd have to live here for a long time to see all of them. We haven't yet. We haven't been to all of the parks yet. So it just gives you a lot of things to do for those staycations and just mini vacations. So I think that's a great pro. One of the cons, and again, this applies to many areas in Utah, not just Salt Lake, but I think Salt Lake sees more of it than other areas, is the air quality and the inversion. So in the winter, sometimes when the cold air is trapped by the warm air, it just keeps all of that pollution in. There's times where it's so bad you feel like you're walking through a cloud. It can just be really unhealthy. So if you're somebody that has asthma or any type of breathing things, that's something to keep in mind. And whenever we do have a client that mentions that they have some breathing difficulties, we recommend the higher you go, the better. So you might be looking at a property on the bench or up in the mountains a little bit so you can get out of that. So something to keep in mind. And again, that's not just specific to Salt Lake, but it does occur there. So we want to make sure that you know about that. Another one of the pros I think is in Salt Lake City specifically is there's so much diversity with shopping, restaurants, things to do that, again, it's kind of like the parks and kind of like the things outdoors. You're never going to run out of anything to do. There's always different activities. So to me, that's a big pro of living in the city. Also, a pro is there's so many little towns. If you're not really, you don't consider yourself a city person, there's so many places that you can live within 20 minutes of Salt Lake that gives you that small town feel, but you still have access to everything. So something to keep in mind there. One of the cons that I've seen a lot of people bring up, and this is really relative, I think, is people will mention the traffic and the crime. And to me, I mean, that's any city. I'd be surprised if there's a city in the United States the same size that doesn't also have those challenges. And again, it's very relative. We've had people move here from other cities that kind of laugh at the crime statistics because in their mind, it's so much less than where they came from. It's not a big deal. Same thing with the traffic. There will be times where you'll be sitting in traffic, and really that's the same in any city. So to compare that to, for example, San Antonio we lived in before we moved here to the Salt Lake area. And it would take an hour to get on the other side of the city, sometimes 2 hours to get on the other side of the city if there was an accident. And Salt Lake, in my opinion, is not as bad of traffic as San Antonio. So again, that's just kind of your opinion on where you came from. Okay, and like anything in real estate, location is everything, right? So Salt Lake has, I think it's a great airport. It's kind of funny because a couple of us are arguing about that at this point, the airport, and this is August of 22. The airport was just redone. If you're not flying Delta, maybe you won't think the airport is that great, and that's simply because the gates are so far away. But that's a different video for a different time. But really, if you want to get anywhere, Salt Lake International, I think, is a great airport. There's so many connecting flights, and really, if you're a traveler and you want to come into Salt Lake, you land, you're up in Park City in 25 minutes. So the proximity is great. Location, I think, is fantastic. And another pro, which some people say is a con, we think it's a pro, is really the Salt Lake area has 4 very strong seasons. The summers get pretty hot. I think we had this year 100 degrees for 18 days of the summer. So nothing compared to, we've lived in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, nothing compared to that, but we do have pretty hot summers. And then of course we do have winter as well. Again, relative. We're from Michigan, so to us, we're like, these winters aren't that bad, but to somebody else who's maybe not used to snow, we usually get our first snowfall. I usually estimate around December, and sometimes it can take a little while for spring to get here. So keep that in mind. Again, I think it's a pro. I love the 4 seasons. But some people, maybe that's just a little bit long for them. And in that case, go back to my last pro is you can hop on a plane somewhere pretty easily. It's very easy to travel out of here. Okay, so that's some of the pros and some of the cons of living in Salt Lake City. And again, like always, we do our videos to give you the information that you want. And we've had a lot of people ask us about living in Salt Lake versus living in Ogden versus living in Layton, anywhere near the base. And we've got other videos that cover those areas too. And of course, if you have specific questions, please reach out to us. Our information's below. You can call, text, email, whatever's easier for you. We would love to hear from you. We do new videos every Friday as well, so make sure to like and subscribe and you will be notified every time we put a new video out.